Hey guys, it's Leo Stargazer. I'm here today with a monthly reading for November 2023. Today, I will be quickly going over the major astrology for the month, and then I will do an oracle reading inspired and in honor of that astrology. Today's oracle reading will be a 9-card Lenormand spread. I wanted to use the Lenormand because I want to get a clear picture of November. I want to get a clear focus on what the month has in store and where our intentions and focus should be placed. So hopefully this spread helps us with that. So to quickly go over the astrology I see in November, November seems like a pretty chill month astrologically speaking. Obviously, there are some pretty big transits. Planets are changing signs and the world and the wheel are turning. So there's a lot in store in November. But there's no eclipses, there's no retrogrades. Some planets are still in retrograde, but no planets enter retrograde this month. And while, like I said, there are some pretty important transits, there's nothing too daunting, astrologically speaking, that I can see. So, with all of that in mind, the astrology for the month is interesting. The major thing I'm focused on this month is this Mars Cazimi that happens pretty much overnight between November 17th and November 18th. So depending on your time zone, it'll be either one of those days. This Mars Cazimi promises to be energetic, powerful, motivating, and a chance for us to really lock into and activate some potential. We will be beyond eclipse season this month. We will be solidly in Scorpio season, and this Cazimi happens in Scorpio, so there is a lot of passion and a lot of intensity attached to it. So I'm keeping my eye on that Cazimi. Other than that, we of course have some planets changing sign. We have Venus entering Libra on the 8th. We have Mercury entering Sagittarius on the 10th. The Sun will also enter Sagittarius on the 22nd, bringing us Sagittarius season towards the end of the month, and Mars will quickly follow that and enter Sagittarius on the 24th. We have a new moon on the 13th and a full moon on the 27th. That new moon is in Scorpio, and that full moon will be in Gemini. At the very beginning of the month, Saturn does station direct, so that is one less planet in retrograde. So that is obviously exciting, and moving forward with Saturn back through Pisces will be interesting. An interesting way to start November, certainly. So with all of that in mind, I'm hoping that our oracle spread today can give us a little bit of a pragmatic approach, can give us a focus, and maybe serve as a guide on what to focus on for the month of November. So let's get started on our shuffle. I want us to take a moment to think about last month. Think about what we learned from eclipse season. And then to start to shift that focus towards November. Scorpio season is in full swing, and we are already latching onto and connecting with our goals for November. So let's keep all of that in mind and let's take one big deep breath. And draw our 9 cards. I'll be drawing all 9 in a row and then going over how the spread looks. So the first card I draw is the Tower. The next card, the Tree. The Garden. The Letter. Now, this next card is very important. It'll serve as the center point of the spread. And that card is the Book. Okay, next. The Anchor. the bouquet, the stork, and finally, the snake. Okay, so now that we have all of our cards and a pretty clear archetypal representation of November, I want to hone in and look at the different aspects here. We will start with the center issue. We will then move to the frame, so what's framing this spread. Then the past, the present, and the future. Then we will be doing consciousness, reality, and unconsciousness. So our conscious self, what we're aware of, what we're perceiving things as, reality, how things really are, and then the unconscious, what is hiding underneath. But starting with the central issue, the card we got right in the center is the book. What this shows me is that November is going to be full of opportunities for knowledge. There is also a sense that secrets or hidden truths may be revealed this month. Maybe eclipse season gave you some kind of insight into something. Maybe that process revealed some truth to you. Or if it didn't, then November certainly will. With the book as the central issue, though, it's not just about secrets and hidden truths. It's a lot about that. But there is just this general sense of knowledge. Just the simple idea of education. The book can really be pretty literal. So I think starting out our spread and starting out this month with a focus on what we can learn or what we can reveal, I think is key. Clearly here, it's the central issue of November. So I'm very interested in that. Moving on to the frame. So the 4 cards on each corner, they will tell a story about how we frame that central issue. So how do we approach, or how should we approach knowledge, intellectualism, education? How should we go about uncovering secrets? Well, the frame can really give us a better idea. We got the tower, the garden, the bouquet, and the snake. So what's framing our need and exploration of education or intellect is this idea of our connection with society. Getting the tower maybe focuses more on how we've been maybe isolating perhaps, and that with the tower next to the garden, or with the tower and the garden as the first part of our frame, there is this idea of an opening up of our social lives. Whether that's letting some group or someone into our tower, or whether it's leaving our tower and going into the garden outside of our tower to branch out and socialize. The bouquet comes in and really emphasizes that. So there's this idea of socializing as a way to reveal information or as a way for us to branch out. I think right away, the first 3 cards in our frame really focus in on that. The final card in the frame, though, is the snake. The snake is a little bit more dynamic and a little bit less clear. The snake can really represent knowledge. And getting the book, there could be this idea that this knowledge, especially this hidden knowledge, is going to be revealed to us through these social groups. But again, with the snake, there is a dichotomy. The snake could reveal hidden truth and knowledge that frees us, liberates us, that helps us and our groups, that gets us out of our comfort zone, but what we find or what's revealed through potentially these social experiences is something super beautiful and helpful and liberating. On the other hand, the snake could mislead. I think the key here is going to be how far we step out of our tower, who we let into our garden, what we expect or accept even in that social space. That all of those things we are going to need to keep an eye on and be aware of what information we're letting in and what information we are latching onto and who is giving that information. So we're comfortable in our tower, but we need to branch out. Knowledge is key, it's a central issue, and there is a promise of some really beautiful socializing and some beautiful social events happening. But then the snake shows up to say, pay attention to what you're hearing and what you're learning and what you're utilizing from that knowledge, because it could be one of the most beautiful, liberating things you've ever experienced or learned, or it could be a little bit deceitful. Hopefully the rest of the cards kind of guide us in one way or the other or give us a clue about that. So let's keep going. The story of the past is the tower, the letter, and the bouquet. Once again, there is this idea of communication and socializing. In this case, though, it shows the past. So in the past, we were in our tower, comfortable and protected. We were civil and controlled. The letter probably indicates that there was some news we received last month, probably with eclipse season. Eclipse season probably brought you some kind of communication or information that definitely affected your tower, affected the space, your safe space. And the bouquet indicates that that information was probably beautiful and potentially really beneficial, even if it didn't seem that way. The bouquet here says that whatever communication you received last month is giving you the right idea about your spaces, your internal space. Like I said, based on the spread so far, it seems that the indication is that we need to branch out with that information. But let's move on to the present. And the present, the story is the tree, the book, and the stork. So in the present, meaning as we move from October to November, as we move from eclipse season into a time of a little bit more calm, astrologically speaking, there is this idea here that our growth, our potential is very present and active, and that is connected to this knowledge that we are anticipating from November or that we have received from October. And then with the stork, there's this indication that transformation, rebirth, and change is happening through that knowledge as well. So with the tree and the stork and the book, there's this idea that that knowledge is affecting our potential, and that knowledge and our potential combined will lead to a pretty big transformation. And that makes sense to me. I definitely was thinking the eclipses were going to bring about a lot of transformation, and I'm sure they have. If you didn't really experience any of that, I think this knowledge piece, this information, education element that's represented by the book is going to be really important. Getting the tree, the book, and the stork in present definitely shows that there is growth potential and the potential for some really transformative growth. So that's exciting. It ties the book back into this idea of how we are moving forward. So that makes a lot of sense. Finally, in the future position, we got the garden, the anchor, and the snake. So this future position is representing what November has in store and potentially after. We have the garden to start us out and the anchor. So the garden and the anchor shows us once again this idea that community, socializing, social circles are going to be stabilizing and grounding for us this month. That if we learn what we need to learn from the book, if we uncover the secrets we need to uncover and engage in this kind of branching out idea, the idea here is that in the future, we can have a beautiful celebration with our community that will be grounding and rooting. And that's gorgeous. The snake, again, has this extra layer though. But because here in the future, the snake is tied to the anchor, there's this idea that whatever information, whatever direction the snake takes us in, that if we are united with our community, then we can have this rooted sense of place. That even if the snake represents some kind of misguided or misinterpreted or even deceptive side of our month or our experiences or the knowledge or the social groups, even if there is that kind of thing, it shows that somewhere in that group or somewhere in a different group or somewhere with that knowledge, there is rooting. I think it shows us getting the anchor here and having it be in future with the snake, I think is really showing that Even if there is a snake in our garden, the knowledge we learn from that experience will be really anchoring for us, meaning it'll be really grounding and really stable. So again, I just really see that leaning on groups is so crucial, and that if there is a snake in the garden, there might be some beautiful lessons learned there, whether or not it was a challenge. It'll be important for our stability going forward. Okay, so moving on to conscious. Our conscious reality, what we perceive, how we are seeing this time. We have the tower, the tree, and the garden. So once again, this is pretty clear now that we've seen all these other cards and we understand how they're interconnected, especially how they branch off, for lack of a better word, from the book, from knowledge. I think it's clear here that the tower was representing how we were closed off in our space, keeping ourselves protected during eclipse season. The tree shows that we understand and perceive a sense and a time for growth. And the garden represents the idea that that growth is going to be found and engaged with through socializing, through our social groups, through branching out socially this month. I think that's clear. The reality of the situation is here represented by the letter, the book, and the anchor. So once again, whether we can perceive this or not, the actual situation as it is knowledge communicated will bring stability. Communication can bring knowledge and reveal secrets that will make us stable and grounded. That's beautiful. Be open to the communications you receive. Be open to the knowledge that you gain from that. And if you do that, the reality of the situation is you will be rooted and grounded and stable. I love that for us. And now finally, the unconscious. What is beneath the surface that we can't see yet? It's the bouquet, the stork, and the snake. Here, once again, and finally, the bouquet and the stork shows social life is key. Being grateful for our communities, being engaged with our communities is the key to transformation. It also shows that there will be a change in that, whether that's a change from October to November, whether that's a change from in somewhere in the middle of November with the knowledge that you've learned or the secrets you've uncovered or the snake you found. There is this idea that the social groups may change. Your communities may be shifting. Maybe it's just that a group you're in is actively in transformation mode. Either way, though, the bouquet and the stork say that change is going to be beautiful and essential. Now, we add the snake to the mix here. The snake in the unconscious part of our experience right now is very interesting, and I think ties back into everything I've been saying so far. With this changing social setting for us, with our groups shifting, with knowledge being learned, with communication and growth and all of that bringing stability, the snake shows that nothing's for sure, and that our experience of all of this change and all of this social change in particular, and all this knowledge is going to need to be really analyzed as it's happening. It also shows that there's the chance here that what we do find and how we do engage with our groups could be so incredibly liberating and essential. Deep also. We are in Scorpio season for most of this month. So there is this sense that it'll be, what we learn will be intense and dynamic and freeing. There's also this sense that we may be guided by or misguided by someone, some group, some piece of information or knowledge that is false or potentially misleading, even if that's intentional or not. It's this idea that it could be mis or disinformation depending, but that is possible and needs to be rooted out and uncovered and learned and activated, because the chance for beautiful liberation is where we want to be. And it's what's promised by the other cards. This idea that we'll be branching out, we'll be engaging in communication and socializing, we'll be simultaneously and in conjunction with that uncovering truth and new information, potentially secrets, that all of that will be super beautiful and grounding and stabilizing as well. It could be super deep and freeing and liberating also. But in order to get to that, and in the process of that, we have to be alert and aware. The snake is the promise of freedom and liberation, but also a warning to keep your eyes opened and listen to your intuition. Do that to find the truth you need to find. Do that to uncover the secrets you need to uncover, and do that to learn what you need to learn. Because if you do, and if you combine that with socializing, with your community, branching out from your tower just a little bit to engage with this beautiful growth, you will find stability, balance, and potentially some beautiful transformative freedom. And I really, really hope that's what we find. So let's dive into knowledge. I hope you have an awesome month. I am so grateful for you, and I'm sending you all of my love. Happy November. I'll see you next time.